Trustees Cook,
Here.
Oppenheim,
Here.
Takaoka. Here. Brown,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Marple.
Here.
We have a quorum present. Would everybody please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any citizens that wish to address the board tonight?
No.
No? Okay. All right, first item is proclamation for payroll week, September 1st through September 7th. The American Payroll Association has its more than 20,000 members have launched a nationwide public awareness campaign that pays tribute to the nearly 150 million people who work in the United States and the payroll professionals who support the American system by paying wages, reporting worker earnings, and withholding federal employment taxes. Payroll professionals in Vernon Hills play a key role in maintaining the economic health of Vernon Hills, carrying out such diverse tasks as paying into the unemployment insurance system, providing information for child support enforcement, and carrying out tax withholding, reporting, and depositing. Payroll departments collectively spend more than $2.4 trillion annually complying with myriad federal and state wage and tax laws. And whereas payroll professionals play an increasingly important role ensuring the economic security of American families by helping to identify non-custodial parents and make sure they comply with their child support mandates. Payroll professionals have become increasingly proactive in educating both the business community and the public at large about the payroll tax withholding system. Payroll professionals meet regularly with federal and state tax officials to discuss both improving compliance with government procedures and how compliance can be achieved at less cost to both government and business. Therefore, whereas the week in which Labor Day falls has been proclaimed National Payroll Week. I, Roger Byrne, President of the Village of Vernon Hills, do hereby proclaim September 1 through 7 as Payroll Week in the Village of Vernon Hills. Okay. Village Manager Special Board Meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the last board meeting, following a discussion that took place under citizens wishing to address the board agreed to hold a special board meeting to allow citizens to have input on the retail sales of marijuana in Vernon Hills. We've published the date. The date will be Tuesday, September 24th at 7 p.m. at the Vernon Hills High School. And what I'd also like to do tonight is to suggest an agenda to make sure we stay on track and see if you have any other comments or suggestions. I would suggest that the meeting start off with a presentation and update on the new law by Kleinthorpe and Jenkins. Both attorneys will be doing the presentation of a PowerPoint presentation. There's comments by Police Chief Pat Crease, and I would guess that there will be a discussion that ensues amongst the board. At that point, I'd like to open it up or suggest that you open it up for citizen input. Due to the large number of people that are anticipated to attend, that's why we moved it to the auditorium at the high school. I would suggest that we limit the amount of time that each speaker has and keep their comments succinct and to the point. Again, we're trying to assess and gather resident input. It's not really an opportunity to provide PowerPoint presentations or other presentations. We've heard those in the past. That's what I would suggest we put out as an agenda so that we can publish it.
It's going to be in the auditorium or the studio theater?
Studio theater, I think.
Yeah, that's the smaller one of the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you didn't see a couple hundred.
Yeah, around that.
300, I think.
Yeah. Something like
Over 250.
We will have it set up on the stage where the dais would be. We're going to have it's stadium-style seating at the bottom of each of the two aisles. We'll have microphones for people to step up to and offer their input.
Yeah.
Can I make a request, though? There was a gentleman who's an addiction specialist, Dr. Weiner, who sent us all an email, and I personally invited him to come speak, and he'd asked that he be one of the first,
Sure.
if there's a way that
Yeah, that's fine.
we can arrange for that.
So what I would do then, if it's okay with the board, I would put him in right after the presentation by the attorneys
That'd be great.
and before the comments of the police chief.
Thank
And
you.
I'll get his name from you.
How long is the presentation by the attorneys?
I would anticipate about 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes.
And this gentleman?
He didn't. We didn't discuss that. How should we give a time frame for that?
I'd like,
Yeah, if there's I mean, a lot of residents are gonna wanna
Right.
respond, so, you know.
I just thought that it'd be nice to have someone who's actually in the field from a professional standpoint, not only from the attorney, but from addiction specialist as well as the police chief. So should I tell him 10 minutes max, or?
I'll get his name and contact information. Like I said, we'll put him on the agenda right after the attorneys, and I'll make arrangements for him to be there.
Okay.
I like the fact 10 minutes max, because we're already at 35 minutes here.
Right.
Yeah, before we get going.
Before we
Yeah.
even get to the,
Right.
to the,
And, you know, we'll have a certain
Yeah.
amount of housekeeping, so
yeah,
we're probably 40 minutes before we get to allow really the feedback
right,
commence, so.
okay. I'll send him
Okay.
a note.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item is omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A through K?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions? If none, roll call.
President Byrne.
Aye.
Trustees Oppenheim.
Aye.
Takaoka.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Markwart.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's see. Senior bus discussion. Unfinished additional business.
Back to me already. Several board meetings ago, we addressed the topic of the senior busing, senior transportation issue, and the need to change what we're doing now. It was partially because of the retirement of one of our drivers, and also because our current system is not meeting the needs of our seniors. Currently, with only the one driver, we are only providing transports on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for medical appointments and doctor-prescribed therapy. So far, the feedback is okay. Obviously, there are a few people that are disappointed with the lost service. And as I promised the board that we would explore a number of options, we have done that. Staff has talked to numerous providers of transportation. Vernon Township, they were very, very interested in providing our senior transportation, although they're not really a viable option for us. Part of the problem is they're having a problem with their drivers as well. They have 3 buses and only 1 driver. And the other issue is that of geography. As you know, Vernon Township and Libertyville Township use Route 60 as the dividing line. They said that they could pick up residents south of Route 60 and take them to points north of Route 60, but they couldn't go back to pick them up to bring them home. And that could leave some people stranded if they were really counting on a ride back. So that kind of left them out. But we are continuing to have conversations with them about doing a more comprehensive transportation plan that involves both them and Libertyville and Fremont Townships in the village of Mundelein. Those entities we also spoke with, but they do not provide senior transportation in those communities. It's all provided on the PACE Dial-A-Ride program, which is a grant-funded program. And it's also partially subsidized by each of the entities that I mentioned. For some reason, we never got involved in that program years ago when the grant was issued. When the grant is up for renewal, we will again be meeting with them. I believe we now have a seat at the table, so we can discuss this further for a more longer-lasting plan. Also, staff conducted a survey through the Northwest Municipal Conference, and the results are mixed at best. We discovered that of all the communities that responded, there are only 2 communities that provide any form of municipal transportation to their seniors or their residents, and the only one that does not charge even for a token amount of our service. Virtually all other communities are served by their townships. Most communities are operated through a dial-a-ride program or similar program, which is only partially funded through the municipality or the township. The subsidies range from $1.50 to $5 per trip, with the rider paying the balance of the fare. One of the most common forms of subsidies that was being used was the use of vouchers, paper vouchers that were issued by the townships. I think I mentioned the last time Palatine Township uses it, Northbrook was using it, and several other entities were using it. But they found, believe it or not, that the amount of fraud was so high with the paper vouchers, they had to abandon them. They had people that were registering for the vouchers and then were giving them away. They had residents that were selling the vouchers back to the cab drivers for half the face value, and the cab drivers would turn them in for cash. They had people that had lived in the town when the vouchers were initially issued and then moved out of town, yet continually got the vouchers mailed to them and used them as free transportation as they saw fit. So obviously something needed to be done. But one of the most innovative and what I think is fair and flexible plans is called Cab One. This program is being used. It was implemented in November of last year in Palatine, and more recently this spring in Northbrook. It's called Cab One. It's a software program that uses a swipe card that's issued to each qualifying senior or resident that's preloaded by the village or whatever the funding source is with a defined amount of money. The swipe cards function like debit cards. They can be pre-designed by the village, contain the name, address, and photo of the user. They're preloaded with a certain amount of rides based on the subsidy determined by the village or the village board. When the user needs a ride, it's as simple as contacting one of the participating vendors. Right now, 333 Taxi and American Cab are both participating vendors. They have the software installed on their systems and on their swipe card readers. At the end of the card, whatever the fare may, at the end of the ride, whatever the fare may be, the card is swiped through their credit card reader. The subsidy amount is subtracted from the total fare, and the rider pays the balance. Working with American Cab, we talked to their dispatcher, and we sort of mapped out a number of scenarios where what it would cost to go from point A to point B here in Vernon Hills. And from the farthest point anywhere in Vernon Hills to the farthest opposite point in Vernon Hills, it's $8. Most of the rides, if you're traveling from, say, the Victory Center to the mall or Victory Center to Walmart, which many of the trips are, it's $4. It's very, very reasonable. And they would include, and Condell Hospital is included there, so you could go from Vernon Hills to Condell Hospital, and the maximum ride would be $8. As I said, most of them are only $4 to $5. And if the village would agree to subsidize each ride by about $4, that would mean that each participant would pay $1 to $2 for each of the trips. The village can control the expenses by limiting the amount of subsidies provided to the riders, which is currently done by most of the other municipalities. For example, if you had 2 round trips a week, that's 4 trips per week. By 4 weeks in a month, that's 16 of these subsidies a month. Each month, the cards are automatically reloaded with the number of trips that are unused, or have been used. So unused trips are not rolled over to the next month. So if you have 16 trips, you use 6 of those trips, they put 6 subsidies back on your card the following month. And this would place, the nice thing about this is this would place the ability to schedule rides totally in the hands of the riders. It would allow them the freedom to travel anywhere they wanted without any restrictions or without having to be turned down because the bus is already in use. For calendar year 2018, there were 2,761 one-way trips provided by our bus with 69 individual users. If I round that number to 3,000 trips, if the village were to provide a $4 subsidy per trip, and it did, as I said before, 4 trips a week for each month, the annual cost would be $12,000, which is $43,000. So
Plus
it would be,
maintenance, plus capital accrual.
exactly, and then the wear and tear on the maintenance and the equipment. So it seems to be a very, very viable program. There's also about $2,500 in startup costs, which includes the cost of the software, training, installation, and there's also a $50 monthly software maintenance fee, plus the cab company gets a 35-cent processing fee per every swipe. If all 3,000 trips were used, and the annual cost for the maintenance and processing would only be $2,250. So you're still looking at barely over $15,000 to operate this system. And once up and running, the system would virtually eliminate most, if not all, of staff's time in taking calls and scheduling the trips. Staff would also recommend that the senior bus continue to function as it is now for medical trips only, at least if you approve this plan. We'd recommend that it would run at least to the end of the current fiscal year, which would allow us to get the program up and running, get the seniors trained, and make sure that all the bugs are knocked out of it. If the board concurs with this program, we're looking for just a simple consensus to move forward, to develop more of the details, more of the planning, come back to the board with either a written agreement or a contractual agreement to provide these services. It would also give us time to go and talk to the seniors, who are relatively supportive of this, by the way. John and I have taken the opportunity to meet with the seniors a couple of times, and there's some general concerns about the loss of transportation. And I've probably received maybe a half a dozen written letters, a couple of emails, and a few phone calls. And I've returned each one of them personally. And all of them, all they wanted to say was how grateful they were for what the village has been providing them for all these years. They understand what it means to the village, and they wanted you to understand what it means to them. They also said to a person they have no objection to paying a couple dollars for the transportation. It's just the fact that they have no transportation now.
What percentage of the riders are in wheelchairs, and are all of these cabs wheelchair accessible?
I believe there is, I'm only supposing here because we had this discussion today, there's one that's wheelchair bound. That individual goes to physical therapy classes once a week. So that would still be transported by our bus, but taxi cabs, certain cabs do have the ability to transport people that are wheelchair bound. And they have special drivers. You just have to let them know when you call for a ride that
So
that's
they
what
can
it takes.
request that specifically.
Exactly.
Yeah, and-
Also, as I mentioned before, I'm going to give a plug to Walgreens here. Also, as I mentioned before, one of the most frequently made trips are requests for people to be picked up and taken to Walgreens or their pharmacy to get their prescriptions filled. As I think I mentioned before, I had checked with all of them, and all of them offer delivery service, but Walgreens actually stepped it up one step further and said for like all the nursing homes and assisted living facilities, they would deliver their prescriptions to them on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday free of charge. CVS said that that's really out of their hands because they are truly a corporate-run organization and they don't have a delivery service. And to their credit, again, Walgreens does not have a delivery service either. They hire someone, but they said they would bag up all the prescriptions in one and deliver it to the homes where the nursing staff can deliver it. We also worked with the management from Victory Center, and if you recall, there was some discussion about whether they would deliver to the independent living side, because there are two separate units. There's an independent living and assisted living, and it's like never the two shall meet. They truly are two independent buildings. The assisted facility side said that they would be more than happy to accept the deliveries of prescriptions for the independent living folks, and they would just have to come down to the front desk and pick them up, which I thought was very nice. So hopefully we can eliminate a lot of the unnecessary trips to the pharmacies for medication.
May want to reach out to Walmart also, just because Walmart has become a major player, and Target too with their.
I did reach out with Target, that's CVS.
Yeah.
And it's my mistake. I missed Walmart. I forgot they had a pharmacy, but I will,
Sam's Club does.
and then we'll get over there. Yeah, Sam's Club does too, and we will get over there.
Yeah.
Mariano's has a pharmacy also.
It's getting
There's
bigger and bigger.
pharmacies all over.
So I think we've made very, very good progress in this program, or at least in the concept design of it. And again, just looking for consensus to continue to move forward and see what we can develop.
This seat has no problem going forward, putting more flesh on the bone.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so what we got to do, pass an ordinance at some point?
Eventually, at some point, we'll have to enter, not necessarily pass an ordinance, but we'll have to, an ordinance entering into an agreement with, a contractual agreement with the software company.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, are we going to closed session tonight? No, sir. Oh, okay. All right, is there any new business or communication to come before the board?
Just the usual. Again, 7:22, and within the city of Chicago, 9:44. We've got a problem, folks. You know what I'm talking about. We're talking about guns. The one thing that did come across, and I talked last time about it, was some of the things that people can do that are right up front, and that's donating blood. And that was another aspect that was brought up today on the news in conjunction with the hurricane and the possible effects that it would have. And that was something that blood banks across the southeast and through the Caribbean will be stretched thin, and people can continue to donate blood as at least a means of trying to do something to assist our fellow man. Thank you.
Okay. Any other new business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting?
So made. Second?
Motion is second. Roll call.
President Byrne,
Aye.
trustees Oppenheim,
Aye.
Takaoka. Aye. Schultz,
Aye.
Marport,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Okay. Board meeting's adjourned. I'd like to call a committee of the whole meeting to order. First item is the approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes of August 13th, 2019.
Motion to approve?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Comments, questions, deletions, or corrections? If not, roll call.
President Byrne,
Aye.
trustees Brown,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Oppenheim,
Aye.
Marport,
Aye.
Takaoka.
Motion carries. Hawthorn School District 73, Middle School North, concept presentation of proposed site plan, landscape plan, architectural changes to allow construction of 3 additions at 201 Hawthorn Parkway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Representatives of School District 73 they're going to present concept plans for what is the second phase of a 5-phase master plan to renovate various buildings within the school district. Phase 1 is already underway, as the board knows, which is the kindergarten addition to the Sullivan Center. This would be Phase 2, which involves 3 additions and some other renovations to Hawthorn Middle School North. Again, this is a concept presentation. I would just advise the board that at the end of their presentation, if the board thinks it's appropriate, then the matter should be directed to the technical review process and then on to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a public hearing. So with that, I'll turn it over to representatives of School District 73 to present their concept plans.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. My name is Abe Singh. I'm the business manager for Hawthorn 73. With me, I have Ted Hogg. He is the architect, the lead architect from Leggett Architects. Tom McGrath is here from LAMP Construction Management, as well as Don Dixon, our civil engineer, whom you should know very well from GHA. This is phase 2 of 5 phases. It's additions to Middle School North. Essentially, it involves a couple of band rooms, classrooms, music rooms, as well as a gym, which is the biggest component of this design. With that, Ted, let's go ahead and begin the presentation.
Thanks, Abe. Just to kind of familiarize yourself with, where this is actually at, I think.
You may want to use the handheld mic.
Okay.
And hold it close to your.
Hello?
Tap it.
There you go.
Hello? Can you hear try this? Hello? Hello?
Just give it a little,
Do you want to try this one, Ted? Try speaking closer to that.
Hello?
That's
Hello? Hello? You're that? Okay, very good.
on through.
I think you're all familiar where the Middle School North is, but just to kind of get you oriented, you're seeing a site plan up on the screen right now. To the north is Hawthorn Parkway. To the south is Town Line School with Route 60 directly to the south of that school, and then there's a parking lot between the two school buildings. As Abe mentioned, there's 3 primary additions to the school. They basically square out the school. If you're familiar with the school, kind of the corners of the school are kind of notched out right now. We're filling those in with classroom additions, total of 7 classrooms. And the other major addition is, as Abe mentioned, a full-size gymnasium with a fitness room, which is sorely needed if you've been in that school. And also they're building a much larger band room and turning the existing band room into a music room. There's also some minor renovations. Also included, which is the locker rooms, which are a half grade underground and obviously not accessible. And they were built back in the 70s when, kids actually changed clothes and showered after gym class, and they don't do that anymore. So, they have a lot of wasted space. And then also we're renovating a couple of underused areas in the west corner of the building into STEM labs. So that's basically the program. What we're trying to do, obviously, is to minimize site impact for 2 reasons. Number one is it costs a lot of money to do that. You get no value doing that at all. And also, aesthetically, we don't want to have a huge impact on the building. You'll see that with the elevations also. We are going slightly into that parking lot between the 2 schools. And Abe made it very clear to me, and so did the school district, thou shalt not steal any parking spaces. So we are making some minor renovations to the parking area. We're adding some parking in the northeast corner and reconfiguring the parking. You can see kind of where the trees are to make up the parking spaces that we lost with the gym addition slightly going into the parking lot. So no net losses into the parking area. This is the pretty colored plan that shows you all the areas that we're adding onto the building. The blue area is obviously the classroom. The green is the new gymnasium with fitness area. To the left of that is new music room. Directly to the north going up are the renovated music areas, so the kind of revamped kind of music wing for the district. And then you can see the green areas, which are the locker rooms, and then directly above that to the north are those 2 STEM labs that we talked about. As Matt mentioned, we're trying to aesthetically tie it in with the existing building. And I have to kind of give you a caveat for what you see here. We beautifully matched the brick and everything. The plant that made the brick is no longer in business, and it's impossible to find a good match. We've already tried. We've called a number of brick suppliers. So our plan is to try and take one of the colors of the brick, probably one of the dark browns, and just use that as a monolithic color throughout. So these, when we come next time, we'll have nice, color boards with brick and the different materials that we'll be using. But I just want to warn you, we're showing it beautifully matching the existing, and that's simply not going to happen. But in terms of massing, we're being very sympathetic to the existing school. You can see the classroom wings. They're exact same height as the existing classroom wings. Our goal is to make it look like that's the way it was meant to be all along. So minimal impact on site, if at all possible. The upper left is the gym music addition. We are taking an alternate. You can see from the nice aerial shots for solar panels, we want to be environmentally sound. To the right is kind of what you see as you look up the drive, also seeing the music wing and gym. And then kind of the southeast corner of the gym, the mass that comes out of the existing building. And then the one on the right in the middle is the classroom wing. And then we do have some enclosed courtyards for outdoor education, which also is going to be an alternate to kind of develop those as a teaching area. Come on. Help me out here, Mike. It's not working. That's it? Oh, okay. I thought we had a couple of the courtyards, so. Okay, so we'll open it up to any questions you might
Can
have.
you go back to the floor plan? Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
So you guys are adding an additional gym space? The school already has one? Then they will have 2, or you guys will repurpose the other one?
They'll have 2 full-service gyms. And if, like I said, if you've been there during a normal class hour, they have kids all over the building getting physical education, in the commons area, just everywhere, so they sorely, sorely need this gym space. And both for community use at night. We've designed it so they can access the gym without getting in the entire building, which is really nice.
And what's on the top of the building on the other? Look like solar panels, but I'm assuming, is that what that is?
Yeah, all the additions, they are what we call alternates bids. So if the bids come in really well and they have the extra money, they will do it. But we are going to supply what we call the infrastructure, the main electrical lines up to the roof. So if they ever come in the future and attach them, well, you can just basically plug and play and go with them. So that's our goal. We're designing the roofs to carry the load of the solar panels and the infrastructure to connect them.
Trustee Cook?
The area where the new gym and that's going to be built, coming straight south from the current music wing, right? To get a little ahead of it, is there an area still there that was some kind of a memorial tree or nature center thing? I recollect something having been, I mean, it may not be there anymore, but if you could check on that rather than the school district that was in the news recently for, you know, just tearing something down without talking to anybody about it. I don't know that it's still there, but I know there was at one time like a major league rock and a tree and some, you know, some kind of a memorial there that I don't recall the details.
We can check into that for
Yeah.
you. I can tell you initially, I don't believe there is anything.
Yeah, at one point I thought it had been moved, but,
It's all paved primarily now.
Okay.
In that area, but we will double check.
all right, thanks.
Okay, any other comments or
Could
questions?
you go back to the parking lot? So is that 7 new spots top right there?
That is correct. 7
then-
new ones on the top right.
and then where-
Reconfigured that on the left there where you see the handicap parking with the landscaping and the islands. We're moving the islands over to the right. Currently, there's not that row of parking up against the power center.
That's what I was wondering about.
Right.
That
Right now, that's just circulation, and now
Right.
that the gym is bumping into it, we're moving that circulation path to the right and redoing the islands, and then putting another row of parking there. So we're picking up 7 parking spaces in the upper right and 6 new ones where you see next to the power center. So we lost 13 and we gained 13, so.
But there wasn't parking there where that, right in front of the power center is, so.
No.
So how are those people going to, I guess hopefully they'll be parked before all the parents come in with the long line of cars? Or how are they
Well,
going to get in and out of those spaces?
I would, well, you know, it's a similar situation that you have with the head-end parking facing Town Line School, basically, you know. If people park there and people are going in and out and dropping off.
No,
it's a problem.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm referring to, the drop off at Town Line. How are the cars going to park in front of?
I was assured
power.
by Mike Christensen, who's head of facilities,
Yeah.
that they don't back up into that area to the east of the power center, that they stay pretty much in front of Town Line School. Is that what you're referring to? How do the people get out as they park in those new spaces?
As I recall, it went all the way around, but maybe not. It's been quite a few years.
Okay. I honestly haven't been there because we've been working so
Yeah.
far without school starting, so school was just started, so we could probably check it out.
I vaguely remember that some days the cars would be going all the way, going all the way around, all the way out to the street, so.
So then
I
it
mean,
would be a
there's-
problem for all the parking spaces.
But
Yes.
it is a problem for all of them to an extent, but especially when the line is literally right in front of those cars there. I don't know if there's any way around that, but it's just something to keep in mind.
We've observed that recently, the condition you're
The
talking about.
condition that I'm referring
It's
to.
occurring.
Right, so those spots are going to be very difficult to get in and out of.
You know, actually, there's parking spaces head in farther north where the gym is going, and we're simply moving them south, so it's kind of doing the same sort of thing. You can,
Yeah.
He's got the existing site plan if you'd like to look at it.
Right.
The configuration is similar. It's the
Yeah.
same condition as before as what's being proposed.
Yeah.
Just move.
We're just moving them
Just
farther
move
down.
south, yeah. So it'll,
And many of the occupants to Powers use that northwest lot. It's actually closer to their main door.
yeah, who are those spots meant for, the ones right in front of Powers?
Well, most of them are handicap spaces, actually. It's ideal because they don't have to cross traffic. We have a couple in front of the school that they have to cross traffic, but those work very well simply because, you know, you don't have to cross traffic.
All right. It's just gonna be hard for those people to pull in with the line of cars, but they'll
Yeah,
make do.
during rush hour, probably when they're picking up kids, you're probably right.
Well, this is all, this is all stuff that is definitely needed up there, as somebody who's coached numerous events at that building. The new gym is definitely needed.
Yeah, on behalf of my granddaughter who graduated a year ago this past May, she says it's about time.
Too bad we couldn't do it sooner, I guess, huh?
Dave, do you have any comments for these gentlemen?
Well, first, we're glad to see that things are moving forward and helping Hawthorn schools, but I concur with some of the things that I've heard from Mr. Oppenheim in terms of traffic. We'll work with them on traffic-related issues as we have in the past. And in terms of, do you have a sense for how much green space we're losing with the additional parking and expansion of the building? Because that could invoke detention requirements.
you know-
Don, I don't necessarily need it for today, but a conversation that we'll have into the
You
future.
know, the main area where we're having impervious area is obviously the classroom wings and the gym, because the parking lot is essentially about the same area as it was before. So we'll certainly be looking into that, as will we with the water service, because this building is totally non-sprinkled. So I've already met with Countryside Fire Department, and we're going to have firewalls between the new and existing and sprinkle the new, so we may have to upgrade our water service coming in.
Well, and some of this open space that you're taking over was stuff that not that many years ago was covered over by the temporary district offices that were there for probably 10 or 15 years.
Boy, you have a good memory.
Yeah, it was a little, it wasn't really a portable, it was fairly,
Modular.
yeah, it was a module type thing.
Well, and one of the reasons we put them where we put them, obviously, was because that portion of the site, especially where the classrooms are, is highly unutilized. You know, it's just, like I said, a leftover corner that's taken out of the building.
Well, this building was built in the day when it was open classrooms and a pod concept per grade, so it was.
And they're still pretty much following that, and that's the beauty of the additions. I don't want to get into the exact details of it, but basically the idea with each one of these pods is we have 3 pods, and each pod needed a classroom addition. So instead of putting 3 additions on, we connected each pod with these classrooms. So it gives them flexibility to flex based on the number of students they have in each grade every year.
I guess if appropriate, a motion to direct the petitioner to go forward at their discretion for technical review with staff.
Second.
Motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Go forward to technical review.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, take care. All right, yeah, Gardner School. Concept presentation for a special use permit site, landscaping and architectural approval for a new daycare facility located at 2 East Phillips Road.
Thank you. My name is Jay Joyner with the Gardner School, and this is Nick Zager, our architect who designs our schools, and he's going to take you through the site plan and details.
Do you want to do the intro first?
No, let's do, see if we can do.
Yeah, real quick at the beginning, this is proposed on the former PNC bank property at Town Line Road and Deer Path. Okay.
Hello, I'm Nick Zager with Nor Architects. Let's see, this is the
I don't think it is.
There we go. All right, so this is the.
I don't think that's working there, Mike.
It's not working.
Mike?
It's working, I think you have to talk closer to the microphone.
Or you have that.
Does this work?
No,
No.
How about this? Does this work?
yeah, but you got to really be on it. You almost got to eat it.
Okay, it's a little awkward, but I'll do my best. All right, so yeah, this first sheet here is the site plan for our proposed Gardner School. It's at the site of an existing or now demolished PNC Bank. We would be reusing the majority of the parking layout.
Have you got a drawing that shows Deer Path in 60?
It might make more sense from the last sheet, if I can figure out how to navigate to it.
In the,
There we go.
in here, we'll show it bottom left.
Yeah, so it's
You know,
kind of
next
that.
time, put the streets in so we can orient it.
Okay, sorry, I don't know why that didn't show up. Anyways, yeah, so it's at the intersection of Phillip Road, Deer Path Road. It's the site of the existing PNC Bank. There are two existing entries into that site. One of them we're leaving as is on the east side. On the west side, we feel it'd be best to make that a right turn out only lane since it is so close to that intersection. So we're proposing some markings and signage, and as well as reworking the curbs a little bit to illustrate that it's a one-way exit out only. And the north of the site, where the PNC Bank had been, we're proposing our 16,000 square foot single-story daycare facility with the entry on the south. On the east side of the site, we are showing about a 5,300 square foot playground with a pour-in-place rubber surface. Majority of the landscaping on the west side of the site, we'll try to keep as is, and of course add some foundation landscaping around the building. We are planning to reuse the existing base of the monument sign on the north side of the site, and with a new sign panel, and we'll add extra landscape and everything around there. On sheet A3, we are showing our exterior elevations. The majority of the materials are clay brick with a limestone veneer base, as well as some kind of pilaster elements. And you can see kind of the middle and corner bump outs where we are showing some lap siding and shingle siding by Hardy Board. On sheet A2, we are illustrating our typical floor plan. It's a bit of a prototypical plan that we've used in a lot of the ground-up suburban schools, with a handful of infant, toddler, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4 and pre-K classrooms, including some, enrichment lunchroom rooms, and an indoor playroom that opens out to the outdoor playground. I think that's all I have.
I have a question. So you're 0 to what? 3, 4?
So we are 6 weeks to 5 years old.
6 weeks to 5 years old.
Yes.
What's the capacity? How many kids can you house here? Or what's your maximum number of kids?
What do we have here? 190, 206?
Yeah, it'll be 206 would be the max capacity.
Have you ever considered like having kids be able to get like if they needed like speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy on site at one of these types of places? I don't know.
So to answer that question, I'm going to call our COO, Chief Operating Officer, Tammy Robinson. There she is. Nick is our architect.
Sure.
Hi, good evening. Based on, we don't diagnose children or anything
No,
like
no, I
that.
know
So
that,
if
but they have-
children have issues that they need developmental help with, we'd bring in, the parent arranges to have a therapist come in, and we have space for them to work with the child one-on-one.
Right. So you know, Eleanor, my wife's a speech therapist, so she does early intervention. She'll go to a child's home. So I'm thinking if a child is at your center, so you're a therapist could actually
Yes.
come to your facility?
Yes, we have private areas that they can
Yeah.
go into and work one-on-one.
What's your market study show you for the need here? I mean, we've got an expansion for the Goddard School. We've got this major expansion going on with adding the kindergarten and after-school programs through the Park District in conjunction with the Board of Education. We've got the other facilities in town, CDW's daycare.
Park District.
Yeah, the Park District at the Lakeview Center. What else? Oh, what would be your next door neighbor, basically, 2 doors down on Lakeview there. Actually, yeah, 2 doors down and then another 3 doors down, the kinder care. I mean, I know this neighborhood or this town is in transition from old folks like me to young folks like Mr. Craig and the doctor here, even them, and the youngest. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, but I'm seeing this plethora of daycare, and I'm wondering, is it really, is it a viable entity here in this market?
We wouldn't be wanting to come to the village if it wasn't. A lot of the competition that is in the area already is full. That's why they're building additions and expanding, because they are full. So by Gardner School coming in, we're going to be offering more spaces for children ages 6 weeks to 5-year-olds. In the village itself, your demographics are showing there's about 3,000 children in that age range. So there's not 3,000 childcare spaces out there. I mean, granted, some will be staying home or not going to a childcare, but there is plenty of room, plenty of children for everyone to coexist. And the more important part is just offering families different choices on early childhood education options. There's Montessori, there's public options. We're more traditional. And I think that a lot of parents are looking at that. We do kind of cater to families that might be looking at going into private schools. Our children do wear uniforms starting at the age of 3. All of our teachers have 4-year degrees in early childhood or closely related field. We offer a lot of enrichment classes in our dedicated enrichment studio. So whereas some of our competitors, they utilize every single square foot for classroom and capacity, our building is a lot larger because we have a lot of flex space. We have the enrichment studio, we have the computer lab, we have the nursing room for working moms to come and be able to nurse their babies during the day, a very nice teacher lounge and workroom. So our teachers, I mean, they walk in and they're like, oh my gosh, I've gone to childcare heaven, because we provide everything for them to be successful in their job working with young children. So we are a little bit different, and I think probably one of our biggest features, especially for this market, is our covered play area, our playscape. So children can have gross motor activities all year round. The weather isn't keeping them inside, trapped in their classroom all day. They don't eat in their classroom, so it's very clean. They eat in the cafe. All of our foods is, our milk is organic. We use whole grains and fresh fruit and vegetables. If it's out of season, it'll be frozen. We don't do a lot of canned food or anything like that. So parents just want lots of options nowadays when they are choosing a right place for their child that meets their family's needs.
So for a full year, it's over 20,000, right?
Yes.
25?
No.
Somewhere in between.
Yes. I mean, it depends on the age of the child. So the tuition is based on the age of the child. So it can vary anywhere from 15 to 20.
I've got a question for the attorney. I have a question for you. If they go to technical review, which is their option, and this is going to require a zoning board meeting. I know that the requirements for the zoning board are just the 250 feet from the point of, but I'd like every stakeholder in this marketplace, i.e. all the other ones, to be advised also. Is that realistic, or?
It's not a code requirement.
Right.
You certainly can do it. And zoning is not based on competition. as
Right.
you know. If this body feels like they can make it, that's a business decision.
Right, but I guess I'd
your
like a
role-
forum to occur, if possible, for all these people to say, yeah, we're all crowded, and another body isn't going to bother us, another entity isn't going to bother us.
Again, not a code requirement, there's no prohibition to it,
Okay.
certainly.
So I guess if we move forward, that would be something I'd like to
Well,
add.
this is OR&D, right?
Yeah.
Is this a
Yeah.
special use?
Yeah, it's OR&D district, and daycare is a special use in that district.
Right, okay, so you gotta jump those hurdles.
That's true.
And we've done a very aggressive competitive analysis in the area. Again, this building and facility, the property, it's $8 million project. We wouldn't invest in that sort of a project unless we didn't think that it was viable.
What is it, a little less than 2 acres there?
120.
About exactly 2 acres.
Is it? Okay. Okay.
We do. We have 8 currently in the Chicagoland area. So we have several down in the city. We have one in Northbrook, Warrenville, let's see, Schaumburg, Lincolnshire,
Where's the home office?
in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay. All right. Well, you want to give them the spiel, council, about going to, if they go to technical review?
Well, technical review is simply a meeting with the staff to go over recommendations from the staff, and ultimately you'll go to planning and zoning. This is a special use, so there'll be a public hearing, and you'll have to put on evidence as to why you've met the standards for the special use, and planning and zoning will make a recommendation that ultimately will come up to this village board for either a passage of an ordinance adopting the recommendation or rejecting the recommendation, one or the other. So there's some time that you're going to take to go through all this, probably 90 to 120 days, roughly.
We're prepared. We can do it.
At this juncture, I'll make the motion identical to the last one, but pertaining to this particular parcel, and with the one caveat that all the other stakeholders be invited to any planning and zoning hearings.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay, roll call.
President Byrne?
Aye.
Trustee
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Cook?
First,
Aye.
Oppenheim?
Aye.
Markwart?
Aye.
Takaoka?
okay, motion carries. Trustee Brown, I apologize. Did you get your
To
questions
vote?
answered?
Yeah, I had, but I didn't vote, so aye.
Oh,
You didn't vote yet? All right, motion carries. Next is request for outdoor dining and seating establishment permit for City Works located at 929 North Milwaukee Avenue. Is this enclosed like Lazy Dog?
No, this is open.
So the people won't be out there like on January 25th or something?
I wouldn't recommend it. No, I
No,
don't
no,
think
I-
it would
no.
keep it open that late either.
A Lazy Dog, they got that, I don't know, heavy, what is it, polyurethane or plastic?
Well, they have a roof, fireplace,
Yeah.
and put inside.
It's good. I ate at the one in Schaumburg on Sunday. Very good.
Oh, this one?
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. All right. Mike, you gonna start this thing off?
Yeah, it is a request for an outdoor dining license for City Works, which is, I think as everyone knows, is located in Melody Farms, just south of Lazy Dog. City Works has 2 outdoor patios. One's on the east side, that's highlighted on the plan in front of you. The other one's on the south side of the building. The request tonight is just for the patio on the east side. They'll come back at a later date to request approval of outdoor dining on the south side. There would be 15 tables with a seating capacity of 76 customers. And in addition to that, there'd be love seats surrounding a fire pit that would be on the north side of the plan shown in front of you, and that would have a seating capacity of 12 people. There would also be a fence around the enclosure. The fence is actually, it's a combination of wood and metal panels that would be in between patio heaters, and also planters, as shown on the picture in front of you to the upper right. This slide also shows you what the furniture would look like and the fire pit. It doesn't show really well here, but there will be awnings. The petitioner is aware that graphics are not allowed on the awnings. Although not shown on this plan, the petitioner has also been notified that as a condition of approval, they will be required to have a self-closing, self-latching gate at the outdoor entrances to the outdoor patio on the north and south. So if the council feels the request is appropriate, then staff should be directed to prepare a resolution approving the outdoor dining license subject to the plans that are in front of you and also subject to the conditions that are outlined in your packet.
So the parking battle zone is where?
The parking battle zone.
Yeah. Between Lazy Dog and you guys, right?
I would hope as their council there be no battling in any parking
You
area.
how many spaces you gonna have?
Pardon me?
How many parking spaces you guys gonna have?
I'm not certain. I could certainly find that out for you though.
Of course, we approved that a long
It's all
time ago.
shared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been working on
It's
this,
all
what,
shared
for
stuff, yeah.
18 months? Yeah, okay.
One of the things that I've been in discussion with Melody Farm is better utilization of the parking field north of Lazy Dog. And when you're there, you don't realize that's a parking option because it's so far north of the development. And one solution would be to have a centralized valet parking that would serve several restaurants in the area, and then that would be the valet lot where they could stack cars more efficiently than if it's just used by customers where you have to use
Yeah,
extra
you mean the
aisles.
furthest north spaces?
Correct.
Which are those owned by Focus or the,
Regency.
oh, those are, okay.
Yeah, the way it's laid out, it almost looks like guest parking for residential, but it's not. They're owned by Regency. They control that parking lot.
Okay.
And if that's something that would make it more efficient, then certainly we could entertain that. Absolutely.
No, this is just, for overflow.
More for them.
Right.
When are you planning on being open? We'll give you a chance to get some plugs in here.
October 14th officially.
Yes.
Okay.
Is the interior going to be like Schaumburg where you have all the TVs against the wall?
Yes, with the copper as well.
Okay. All right, well, anybody want to make a motion to approve?
Can I ask why do they have to separate the two outdoor patio meetings?
They don't have to. This is actually what was shown as part of the original site plan way back when Melody Farm was originally approved. So those are the approved locations for the patios. They don't have to. It was just proposed that way originally, and that's the way they're carrying out the development.
Splitting the building, having two users at one point in time.
It's kind of similar to Uncle Julio's. They have two separate outdoor dining areas that are not connected. That's the best example I can give.
Right.
For you.
But why are we having them come back at a later date?
Oh, they're not prepared to show us what the patio furniture will look like, what the layout will be, the seating count. They don't have any of that information. They're just not prepared to ask for that right
They
now.
just have this one.
Right. It's my understanding that the design of that second space is still in flux, and so we did want to proceed with the one that had been solidified thus far. So that's why the second meeting was because of our inability to provide you with the information that you needed.
Of the design. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so what do you need a motion?
Directing staff to prepare a resolution approving the outdoor dining license, subject to the plans that are presented before you tonight, and in accordance with the conditions attached to your packet.
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Nay, nays. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, see ya. All right. Now we got White Deer Run Lease.
No, adjudication hearing officer.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Adjudication hearing officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted an opportunity to share with the board that we continue to make progress with the administrative adjudication process improvements. Our new village attorneys are working hard on some of the code adjustments that need to take place. Staff has met with them a couple times, I feel very comfortable with the progress we're making. One of the important parts of establishing a new administrative adjudication hearing process is the selection of a hearing officer. One of the things that we've done in our research is we've looked to see what some of the other communities are doing, and the memo I provided you in your transmittal shared that we had confidence proposing to the village president appointment of retired Lake County Judge Henry Tonigan as a hearing officer. He's been doing this since he retired in a number of surrounding communities for over 10 years. I've seen him preside in these. Our entire staff that will be involved in this has gone just in recent months to watch how he operates the hearing process. And furthermore, we've talked with those communities to get really good references on how this, his performance and how he cooperates with the staff. So what we're asking you to do is, if you're comfortable with this appointment, is directing staff to enter and collect an engagement letter from him so that the president can go forward with this appointment. We would then want his input along with our prosecutor and our attorney and our staff before we kind of finalize these final code amendments to get this process rolling. So will answer any questions.
Is it the president's intent to
I've
appoint him?
known him for a long
Yeah, no, is it your intent to appoint him?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's
Well,
okay with
then
the board.
Why, do we need a, do we need a motion because we just vote on the appointment, right?
Well, it'll come up on the board, at a
Right.
board.
It'll come up on an agenda. It's not tonight. There'll be a
Right.
contract with
Right.
with
So-
him at the time.
We'll have it ready at a future board meeting.
This is just direction tonight to
Yeah.
get things
Yeah.
ready.
Well,
Okay.
I'm
long-
curious, was this open to the public, so to speak, or how did this person come forward, and
We
were we
just-
looking at other candidates as well, or?
We did not conduct an RFP or a process like that we didn't open this up for applications. We looked at the neighborhood, so to speak, around Lake County. We are aware of several people that do this kind of as a living. Obviously, the base requirements for this would open it up to a whole bunch of attorneys that could do it, but maybe they don't have any experience in doing this. So, no, we kind of found out who was going on in the neighborhood. Staff had conversations with the mayor, and there was a comfort level that we've probably got a good appointment here.
If I may, this is a very, certain qualifications are required for this role. You have to be a retired judge or an attorney that's certified as a hearing officer, and that takes training. Judge Tonigan has quite a bit of experience on the bench up in Lake County, very experienced jurist, very skilled, can do this with his eyes closed, basically. I mean, an appointment that he can handle very, very efficiently, and does so. So it's a position with a very specialized skill that really wouldn't lend itself to an open RFP. Certainly, you can target individuals who you'd like to talk to, but it's not that kind of a search, I guess. You're not looking to, for example, with bidding, competitive bidding, it's not the kind of search that's going
Well,
to
it's a
render
professional
savings.
service too,
Professional
right?
service. It's not necessary. I don't know what he's been doing.
We haven't gotten that far.
Well, it's an hourly, right?
Yeah, it's an hourly rate, and we've budgeted what we kind of anticipate, but we'll know that. We just didn't want to get the cart way ahead of the horse before first talking with the board. Didn't want to be presumptuous if the board's inclined to support the president's appointment, then we'll get a letter of engagement. We'll have some more details at the time of the appointment.
This chair is very inclined to support the president's appointment if that is the appointment.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Skip. I've known, I mean, again, he's a qualified guy,
Yeah.
you know.
For sure.
He's the
Skip.
guy.
Judge Skip. I don't know him that well, but I know him from politicals, going to fundraisers and stuff. That's about it. You know, I don't hang with him. I know where he belongs, though, what club.
I you know, just to perhaps give the board some comfort level, this is a hearing officer that I've known of and seen prior to my experience here. I know Village Manager Fleischauer also had, so when we started having this conversation, this was a name on near the top of both of our list, and as we talked through it, we shared that with the mayor, but it was really staff's recommendation to go to the mayor with this name.
Yeah, just to put an exclamation point to that, I've known Judge Tonigan for over 20 years. I've worked with him on a number of projects, including these adjudication hearing processes and the deferred prosecution projects that have gone on in the past, both here at Vernon Hills and with other communities. He comes highly recommended from the towns of Lake Forest and Libertyville, and there are several other communities he also provides this service to. This is about a 2 to 3 hour a month project, and his fees are under $200 an hour. No one's going to make a living off of this.
Okay. All right. Next is the lease with White Deer Run.
Thank you. Ryan from White Deer Run Golf Course is here to assist. Let me set the table for him. Staff has met with the operators of the golf course. We've had a number of amendments to date. What's before you and included in the board packet is the fourth amendment to the lease. It contains information in terms of the rent, the term of the agreement, operational issues, equipment related issues, and some of the additive asks of the village are they've committed to tree replacements. It's 100 trees over 2 years. We've had a lot of input from our residents that it has been a concern with all the trees that have been removed, a lot of them ash trees that we are faced with on our public right-of-ways also. So they've agreed to that in this revised lease. And also, the prior lease did not include anything in terms of contribution for some of the algae control that the village is doing, mostly within the golf course area. So those are some of the terms that are included. And Ryan's here to help really just answer questions that you may have in terms of the proposed agreement. So I don't know if you have questions.
Jim, did you go through all this too?
I read the comments, I did. I don't have a lease, I have not provided the lease to review. I did look at the agenda and the comments and the dates, good things put together.
The intent would also.
Well, there's the lease, the final lease document's not completed yet. Right?
Yeah, we'll get you a draft lease document to review.
Yeah, if we have closure on all these, okay. All right. Trustee Cook.
I had two major questions. I mean, everything looked good. My two concerns were, are we sure we want to go 25 additional years and take it all the way out to 2049? That's a little far in the future. Of course, 25 years ago, I didn't think I'd get here. But that seems like a little long. I'd rather have unless there are a couple of opt-out points or buyout points, which the current agreement has that, right? If we have a couple of, escape clauses in that 25-year period, then I really don't have that big of a problem with it. The other thing, I'd like to see us keep the local discount the same as it has been, the 15%. I don't want to reduce that just because one of the reasons for the whole project in the first place was to make it another amenity for our residents to use and get a break on it. And I believe me, I don't mind extending this just because I do know that Mr. Plody put up a lot of the money, at the very beginning, and very grateful for that because the course would not be as good as it was without the management that has put this together. So I'm more than willing to go, but I would still like to keep the availability of the cost for residents, to keep that as low as we can possibly keep it for Vernon Hills residents. And the other thing, as far as the reserve, the tea times and that for residents, now that can be first come, first serve. I can see the priority going away on that. But the actual fees, I'd like to keep where they are.
Yeah. What is it, 15%, Ryan?
Currently, it's 15%. We proposed 12.5%. And really, we wanted to limit that discount to Monday through Thursday, and then after 2 p.m. on Friday through Sunday. It gives us the ability to
Yeah,
maximize.
and see, that's another thing. I don't want to restrict our residents. The whole deal of this being built in the first place was as an amenity for Vernon Hills residents. So,
Thank you for the comments.
Yeah, okay. When you say an amenity, no question about it, but, you know, it was a very, very, very good deal for us, to say the least.
Absolutely agree.
Because the land was all, 225 acres of land was donated to us along with Lake Charles. We didn't put anything into the deal.
No.
You know? So, you know, trying to accommodate these guys to keep the place going, I don't have a problem with that, because I don't think we want to have an 18-hole golf course on our, in our budgetary process.
No.
You know, it may happen one day, because this will be turnkey, but, you know, we did put $1 million in, and that was $500 from every homeowner in Greg's Landing. When did you buy your house? Yeah, you did. Yeah, you might have donated. I don't know. The course was already open.
What
Yeah.
percentage of the golfers are residents versus non-residents?
I got to do some crunching on that. It's I'm going to say it's less than 25%.
Non-resident?
Less than 25% resident.
Oh, less than.
Oh, yeah, you know, I mean,
Oh, okay.
well, the
A
number.
lot of golf outings are.
Yeah, but I was going to say the number of golfers in any town is maybe 5%. I mean, Kemper beat this to death a few times, you know, not just with the 9-hole, but even when you weren't the only guys that came forward to talk about doing this course. But it, you know, it's like so many things. You know, how many people use, you know, the swimming pool, you know, in town? You know,
Right.
it's built to a bather load of, I think it's, you know, 1,500 people, based on the fact that about 5% of the people use it.
well, but the
You
fact
know,
that
it's something, it's crazy formulas.
the
but they're-
fact that the percentage is that low,
Right.
Yeah.
Keep the 15%.
yeah,
I concur.
it supports my argument that it's really, I don't think, a make or break.
And how much money are we really talking? I mean, 2.5% for,
25%, and is it for added cost to run the golf course? I mean, there's a reason why you reduced it to 2.5%.
Well, that doesn't impact on what they charge, you know, I mean, that can go up, what they charge per round.
Right.
Right. You could
Yeah,
you could
right.
offset. That's what they do in healthcare. You could just increase it and take 15% off a higher number.
All right, but what about the times, the ability to have, you know, I guess
That should be first come, first serve.
no, but also the discount. They wanted the discount to go away on the more prime times.
I think it should be 15% across the board.
Across the
anytime
board
you're a
at a time,
resident.
yeah.
Residents,
Period.
yeah.
okay.
I mean, is it really that much? Is it really that much money? It didn't
It's a
seem like it
highly
would.
competitive business. Pennies add up to dollars.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, when we have the rainy years like we had this year and last year,
Just
we don't
crappy,
get that
yeah.
back. Somebody doesn't say, well, because I didn't golf 3 weeks ago, I'm going to golf twice today.
Yeah.
You know, so it
It hurt.
last year
I
was
get it.
challenging. This year's challenging. Now we had a great August. You know, August was good.
Do you have an ability to put that on, like Trustee Oppenheim was asking, as a number?
I can crunch through it and get it for you. Yeah, it's
Please.
It's less than 25%. I'm sure of that.
But I mean, also, what kind of a dollar figure
actual
you'd be
dollar.
making?
Oh,
Actual dollars this would increase your budget by, if it drop that 2.5%. Because if it is make or break the golf course, the mayor's correct. I mean, this was something where, as I said in my opening comments, that when Mr. Plody stepped forward, he put up a lot, and I understand that, and have a great appreciation for that.
Thank you.
My turn?
Yeah, trustee Schultz.
I'm going to want to see a lot of numbers, because at the end of the 25 years, it's my understanding the golf course was ours free and clear. So you're going to be generating revenue to help offset costs that would not have been offset because the golf market went south in a hurry after this course was built. So I'm going to want to see where you are, and again, because 25 years, there needs to be opt-out points or buyout points, and they need to be reasonable, practical, whatever phrase you want to use. And I'd like to see them as we go forward being reasonable, so I need to know how bad off you are with regard to your original investment and what those buyout points would look like every 5 years or whatever it is over that 25-year term. Do you have a certified groundskeeper, or not groundskeeper, superintendent, course superintendent?
Yes.
You do? He's a permanent full-time employee?
Yeah, Mike Giannopoulos. You want me to
Okay.
get you his certifications?
You know, that's the one thing we are woefully underserved at the Muni, is the course superintendent. So at some juncture, we need to take a look at maybe unifying, whatever, because if they've got...
And we got the guy from Royal Melbourne?
Yeah, right. He doesn't show up very often, and this guy is a full-time employee in town that I'm just not real keen on the level of service we're getting for the Muni from the course superintendent perspective. From the professional
Well, that
perspective.
contract's coming up. Why don't we have a heartfelt discussion?
Yes, sir. And that's the point I'm getting to,
Yeah.
is, what...
But is this guy just for White Deer Run, or is he Boulder Ridge?
No, he's just White Deer Run.
Okay, well, okay.
So that's kind of so that might be an adjunct, an alternate ad, so to speak, or an opportunity.
Yeah, I gotta evaluate that with the
Yeah.
club manager,
Yeah.
Bob Milpede.
Yeah. No,
I gotta
understood.
figure out what hours, if any, are available before
Right.
I can commit to that.
Yeah, but I mean,
Right.
at some juncture, I think we need somebody in town that's only
Well, you're not talking about tying that to this agreement, you're talking about that being something future, correct?
future.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But something that I'd like to see have more emphasis than not moving forward. But that's about it. Again, the numbers are very important with regard to the reality of what the buyout should look like if, in fact, we go forward with this lease.
Okay. When are we gonna bring this back, then?
It needs to go to staff for a lot of,
Yeah, I think I've got a couple fine tuning points to work through with Mr. Brown and Mr. Fleischhauer and the village attorney as well.
Why don't we see if we get
How
this
quick can
back
you
and-
pull together some of the metrics that Trustee Schultz brought up?
Yeah.
Probably about a week and a half.
Okay.
I mean, there's no question there were buyout provisions in the existing lease.
And you have shared a lot of the information in terms of 5 years out, 10-year out projections, so he should have that. In terms of some of the metrics you asked for initial investment, I haven't seen that. That's something you'll help us with. We could put it on next agenda.
So
I
the
would
ex-
suggest that we skip it to the
yeah, well,
following meeting.
the bottom line is, if in fact you walk away from the golf course and we take it over at the end of the original lease, you're out some cash. And so you need to identify that and what you're looking for as help, and what does that look like over this extended lease, and what does the new buyout look like so that you get made whole, but not excessively.
Sure. Yeah, there are some on file with the village, some audited financials that we have to provide every couple of years. It gives a bit of a picture of what has been invested by the Plody family into it. So that gives you a general idea of how much is out there and the reason for the longer term request.
Yeah, well, and potentially if, we can make you whole at the end of 10 years, then it really, the lease structure changes, and now we're just having you manage the course for us, as opposed to kind of being an equity partner in this.
I understand. Yeah.
So I'd like to know when that conversion occurs. Things of that
I
nature.
believe if they were to hand us the keys today, because we wanted that, I think it could be around $4 million. But we have some of those statistics.
Well, that's,
is my point.
today, at the end of the lease, though, it's my understanding it was $0. And
I
so
understand.
what's the difference between 0 and what you need to be whole? And you need to prove what you need to be whole at that point in time.
That's about 5 years with 5-year renewables.
Yeah, that probably make, again.
Well, that's what the buyouts,
Right, and but that's what,
yeah, that's what the buyouts would provide, is that opt-out.
but that's what the financial pro forma that he's gonna provide us with is going to.
No, there's always been buyouts in there, and yeah, and maybe they are every 5 years. I know Ray calls me about once a year. Hey, you wanna buy this place? I say, no, it's.
No, because it costs too much, and in 2 or 3 years, we'll own it anyway. So, yeah, but,
All right, well, let's, we gotta meet again with staff and, let's dig up some of these numbers and, tweak it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for your
Okay.
comments. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah,
You guys
it's
have a good
it's
night.
basically just, as far as I'm concerned, it's basically a matter of just tweaking it, because it's a
Yeah,
good
and then we
document.
need to work on some of the buyout
Yeah.
figures.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
so made.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. The meeting's adjourned. Okay.
John, thank you. I saw the email.